Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something that honestly feels pulled from the very near future. How do we actually, legally and ethically, put an artificial intelligence system onto a corporate board of directors?
It's a huge question, and the really startling thing is the timeline. Back in 2015, you had the World Economic Forum predicting the first AI board member by, 2026?
Yeah, which seemed pretty forward-thinking then. Gave us a bit of breathing room, maybe 7, 8 years to figure things out.
Well, the reality check is that the first official announcement, reported by the BBC no less, was way back in 2014, an AI system acting in a director role.
So this isn't theory anymore, it's happening, which makes the legal side incredibly urgent.
Absolutely. And there's this deeper idea driving it, isn't there? These autonomous systems, if they're guiding huge companies, they have to function within the legal field. People call it computational law.
Computational law.
Yeah, it's this old dream, really. It goes back centuries to Leibniz, even. The idea of automating legal reasoning, taking human fuzziness out of it, getting perfect legal compliance.
Perfect consistency. Okay. But for an AI to get anywhere near that, especially in a boardroom, we first need to define its world,
Right.
right? What reality is it even working in?
Exactly that. That's the core technical challenge. Before you guarantee anything about how a complex autonomous system performs, you have to define its operational context.
Its boundaries.
Precisely. And there's a concept for this, borrowed from automated transport, actually. The British Standards Institution calls it the Operational Design Domain, or ODD.
ODD. Okay, so like for a self-driving car.
Right. For a car, the ODD spells out the specific conditions it's designed for. Weather, type of road, speed limits, light levels. If it goes outside that ODD...
Things might go wrong. Makes sense.
Now try mapping that ODD concept onto an AI sitting on a corporate board. Its world is, well, it's massively more complex.
This is not just roads and weather.
Not even close. Its ODD has to cover the whole environment. Laws, regulations, internal company policies. And here's the kicker. How other AIs and humans interpret and apply all those documents.
Ah, interpretation. That's where human law and AI code really clash, isn't it? We have rules written for people in natural language. The AI thinks in metrics, in code.
And that's the collision point. The European Commission actually put out a report on this. They basically said autonomous systems cannot literally comply with the rules made for humans. Think about traffic laws, for instance.
How does an AI interpret drive reasonably?
Exactly. It needs defined parameters. So
no.
the EC report kind of laid out 3 paths forward. When an AI faces a rule, it just can't follow literally.
Okay, 3 options. What are they?
1, you change the rules, adapt them so a machine can understand and follow them.
Okay, rewrite the rule book.
2, you basically allow the autonomous system not to comply with the human rule. Just let it off the hook.
That sounds risky, legally speaking.
Very. And option 3, the system has to immediately hand over control to a human director whenever it encounters a situation where complying isn't possible or where not complying is the necessary decision.
Handover seems safest on the surface. But in a fast-moving board situation, missing a trade window, failing a compliance check because you paused for human input, that could be disastrous.
Right. And option 2, just letting it not comply, opens up huge liability questions. So really, option 1, changing or adapting the rules for the AI seems like the most workable path, doesn't it?
Modifying the rule set for the AI, creating an environment it could understand.
That's the logic, yeah. If it can't process human law like humans do, you need to create an operational context it can process reliably. And, we actually do this already in some ways. There are precedents in legal practice for creating these specialized environments.
Like the bilingual contracts example you mentioned, how does that fit?
It's a really good analogy, actually. It shows we already accept that different systems might need different versions of the same reality. Think about, say, a joint venture contract involving China. Chinese law might require the official contract to be in Chinese, approved by state bodies. But the Western partner, they need an English version for their own governance, their own understanding.
So you end up with 2 official versions of the same agreement. They should mean the same thing, but they exist in parallel, catering to different systems, different languages, different regulatory views.
Exactly. It proves specialized legal documents are already a thing when you have systems with different worldviews, different ways of processing information. The gap between English and Chinese legal interpretation is sort of a small version of the gap between human legal thought and computational logic.
I see the parallel. So the logical step for an AI director is create a similar specialized context within the company itself.
That's the core idea. It means Your internal rule books, your policies, what lawyers might call local normative documents. You could have them in two versions running side by side.
One for the humans.
Right, written in standard legal language based on human understanding. And another version specifically tailored for the AI system, using metrics it can verify, clear boundaries it can process.
A kind of dual variant ODD.
Precisely. This lets the AI function predictably, meet its performance goals, while still, in theory, aligning with the intent of the rules.
Okay, so if the dual variant ODD is the technical fix, the how, then we need the governance. Who signs off on this AI's special world? And how do we make sure that world is, well, fair?
Yeah, that's the next crucial layer. You need the policy foundations to make sure this AI director, operating in its specialized ODD, acts ethically and fairly, especially on a mixed board with humans.
And the framework for that.
Well, a good starting point is the OECD G20 Principles of Corporate Governance. Their big goal is fair treatment to all shareholders. We have to take that principle of fairness and make it concrete, measurable for an autonomous system.
Okay, so let's break that down. Principle one you mentioned was informed consent. That feels absolutely fundamental. People need to know what they're signing up for.
Crucial. It means the company has to develop internal policies, regulations, codes that spell out exactly what the AI director does, how it operates, what its limits are.
And why is that documentation so important?
Because that's what allows shareholders and other stakeholders, too, to give their informed consent. They need to understand the setup before they agree to let an AI influence company direction.
And this connects back to a really core ethical point, doesn't it? That the engineers building the AI shouldn't be the ones making the high-stakes ethical calls for the users, for the shareholders.
Exactly. Transparency and consent are how you shift that ethical burden away from the tech developers and onto the governance structure.
Which links back to that dual regulation idea. Human directors have their policies based on fiduciary duty, good faith, the human perspective.
And the AI's policies, they have to be based on objective stuff the AI can actually work with. Defined financial risk scores, compliance metrics, things like that. Same functions, just regulated through different explicitly acknowledged lenses.
Okay, that covers consent. What about principle two? Non-discrimination. AIs aren't automatically neutral. Bias is a huge concern.
A massive concern. The source material really stresses this. Autonomous systems must be testable for bias. Direct discrimination, indirect discrimination.
Yeah.
If you can't test for it, you're walking into a minefield.
But how do you even audit that? An AI makes a complex decision, say, divesting from a region. How does a shareholder know if that was sound economics or maybe, biased historical data creeping in?
That is the challenge, and the answer has to be in the corporate policy. The rules for the mixed board need to state very clearly which non-biased tests the AI has to pass, how often it needs to be tested, and critically, what specific list of potential biases, race, gender, age, whatever is relevant, is being checked for.
So you take it out of the black box engineering realm.
And make it a transparent, mandated part of corporate governance, auditable, accountable.
Okay, that makes sense. It puts the responsibility for checking right into the governance structure.
Which then leads us to the third principle, for when things inevitably go wrong or get ethically messy. Fair statistical distribution of risks.
Right, because sometimes there are no good options. Like with self-driving cars facing an unavoidable accident scenario.
Exactly. In really critical corporate situations, a sudden market crash, a regulatory shock, it might be impossible to program the AI's exact response in advance. It has to choose the least bad outcome.
So how do we judge if its choice was ethical?
Well, according to EU expert groups looking at this, the idea is that ethical behavior shouldn't be about one single decision in isolation. It should organically arise from the continuous statistical distribution of risk.
Okay, unpack that a bit. Statistical distribution.
It means you judge the system's ethics based on its overall risk profile, how it balances risks over time to enhance safety and ensure fairness across different groups or stakeholders in the long run.
So it's less about the single crisis decision, more about the program philosophy behind those decisions.
Precisely. And companies need to formalize how they accept that risk. How do they do it? Transparency again. The corporate codes, the policies. They have to tell shareholders and third parties the exact criteria, the indicators, the weightings used in the AI's risk distribution algorithms.
So is the AI programmed to prioritize rapid growth above all else? Or maybe it's super conservative on regulatory risk? Or does it weigh job preservation heavily?
The company has to lay out that risk philosophy. publish it, essentially. So stakeholders can give informed consent not just to the AI's existence, but to the statistical trade-offs it's programmed to make when facing tough choices.
It moves the ethical debate from the heat of the moment back to the policy creation stage.
Exactly. Before that AI ever casts a vote or makes a recommendation, the rules of its ethical engagement, its risk calculus, need to be clear and agreed upon.
So this whole deep dive, it really loops back to that fundamental question we started with, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do these AI systems operate in the same world as humans, under the same rules? Or do they need their own special, dedicated conditions to be safe and effective?
And when you look at analogies, especially around safety, the evidence seems to point strongly towards needing dedicated conditions. Think about transport safety stats. It's a powerful comparison.
Go on.
Air travel, rail travel. Studies consistently show they are orders of magnitude safer than driving your car on the road, even though planes and trains are incredibly fast and powerful.
Right. And cars are less safe, largely because they're operating in a shared general environment, the highway.
The key difference is the dedicated infrastructure. Railways have their tracks. Aviation has airports, air traffic control, defined corridors. That separation, that dedicated system, is what allows for incredible efficiency and incredibly high safety standards.
So if you treat a corporate AI like a car on the open highway, just dropping it into the existing complex human legal system, you're potentially maximizing its risk, its chance of causing unforeseen problems.
That's the implication, yes.
Which leaves us with a really provocative final thought for you listening. Should we be thinking about corporate AI like just another car sharing the road? Or is it more like a high-speed train, or even a rocket? Does getting the most out of it safely mean we have to build dedicated legal and internal infrastructure, like those specialized dual-variant regulations, just for the AI director?
And this isn't just academic. Public opinion, research, it all feeds into how the law evolves here. We should probably mention there's actually an ongoing crowdsourcing project. You can find it at www.boardmachines.com that's gathering human opinions on how these autonomous management systems should be developed.
Collecting data on public acceptance and expectations?
Exactly. And they plan to publish the results once the research is done. That data could be really important in shaping how we build this necessary dedicated infrastructure. Definitely something we'll be watching closely.